Great to have you with us. Now, there's heavy police presence at the University of Ghana campus as law students prepare to write a supplementary examination following the leakage of the main exams last month. The students say the presence of the police is intimidating. Here's one of them.
Not going to write the exam
because they are sitting there because of the fear that GSC and the examination body has imposed on us. Look at here, looking around, you see a lot of police people standing around here, and it's just an infringement on our rights. We have the right to express ourselves, and if there's an injustice in the system and we are opposed to it, we should be free to express it, isn't it? So for you to bring a whole squad of policemen to come and surround us, it's with weapons as if we are criminals. We are not criminals. We are just learning to be lawyers. And if this is the way we are going to go through our education, I feel sad for Ghana.
We refuse to be intimidated.
I fear for Ghana. Today is a sad day for justice in Ghana, and we call on the president and whoever can come to our aid to come and bring justice and sanity into the system, and call the IEC to order and ask them to do the right thing. We are only asking for the right thing. We are not asking them to do anything that cannot be done.
Okay.
Joint News is Emmanuel Jivenu is at the University of Ghana and joins us on the phone with more. Emmanuel, tell us about the state of security at the exam center now.
Well, Daniel, as of now, I could count about 4 police vehicles around, making sure that if there is any compromise on security, they'll be able to forestall it. This was necessitated when around 8 a.m. when some group of students, law students, went around inciting others not to take the examination. So that was at this point when the police vehicles trooped to the University of Ghana, the exam center, to make sure that security is not compromised over here. As of now, exams is done. The students have finished writing their exams, and they are now going home. I could see them so excited they finished the exams. Primarily, some of them that I spoke to indicated that the exams was much easier. That necessitated them writing the exams, contrary to the opinion of not writing the exams initially.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for that report. Emmanuel Jivenu is our man as the exam center at the University of Ghana. Let's get in touch with the university authorities for some answers. We'll be doing that later in the bulletin. Now, the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament and National Democratic Congress NDC presidential candidate hopeful Alban Bagbin has accused supporters of former President Mahama of engaging in propaganda politics. According to him, 50 of the MPs who allegedly signed a document to endorse his candidature to lead the NDC in 2020 presidential polls came to him saying they were misled. He has also promised to ensure traditional authorities are allocated their deserved position if he is given the nod to become presidential candidate. Mr. Bagbin said this when he paid a courtesy call on Asogli chiefs in the Volta regional capital, Ho, to ask for their blessings.
The second Deputy Speaker, who is also a Member of Parliament for Nadoli Kalu, began a campaign tour of the Volta region on Tuesday from the northern sector. According to Bagbin, he is preaching the gospel of truth towards enforcing a drastic change in the modus operandi of the NDC. On the third day of his tour, he met with traditional authorities in the Asogli state, where he promised to ensure chiefs take center stage and his government should he be given the nod as president of the country.
A change in how we treat each other, how we relate to each other, a change in vision to be able to develop Ghana and to make our party strong and indefatigable. I am saying indefatigable because you need to have a strong party in order to have a strong government. Well, it is the party that feeds into the government. I know that people are using to a culture of politics, a culture of democracy, which in my honorable view is negative. And that is why as a country we are stuck and we are not moving forward. And so I am here to tour the whole of Volta region and to preach the gospel of truth, the gospel of doing things right, the gospel of really representing our people and serving and sacrificing for our people, not over them. I am in Parliament. I am aware of what happened in Parliament. Recently, a group of young MPs came out to say that 94 of them had supposedly signed a list, and that list was said to be in support of one of the yet to be declared aspirant for the position of the flag bearer. Definitely, I will not want to go into details, but treat that as part of the propaganda politics that we have in this country. Because after that number, about 50 of the NDC MPs came to me in my office to tell me that they were not told that that list was meant to be used in support of His Excellency the former President, John Dramani Mahama.
He also noted the NDC has learnt a bitter lesson in the past, hence would correct the flaws which led to the 2016 defeat. The astute politician also promised the Volta region a fair share of development in his government. Speaking on behalf of the Asogli chiefs, Chief of Duma and Warlord of the Asogli State, Togbe Lakle Housu, lauded Mr. Bagbin's gesture and bestowed their blessings on the legislature.
Because you said it all. Involve those who matter in the administration of the country. Then the country will go on. But if you just involve those around you, you will not get it. What happened during the elections? So many things went on, and people were asking, why did that happen? Why did this happen? These are things you should find out from the ground. And with what you have told us, it means you know what is to be done. You know what is to be done. So,
Mr. Bagbin later met NDC executives from 5 constituencies to lay before them his vision and objective for the party. He urged them to elect him as the next presidential candidate due to his rich experience in governance. Fred Kwame Asaris reports for Joy News.
Now, the Archbishop of Cape Coast, Most Reverend Charles Palmer Buckle, has condemned extravagant funerals, saying Ghanaians waste too much resources on the dead. The Archbishop wants Ghanaians to learn to bury their dead relatives within the first or second week of their demise. Whilst commending the family of J.H. Mensah for being able to organize his burial within 40 days, the Archbishop admonished mourners gathered at the Accra International Conference Center to rather spend on the living. He was delivering the sermon at the funeral service of the late senior minister who died at age 89. Let's go live to the funeral grounds now at the forecourt of State House and speak with Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba for more. Maxwell, what are the reasons for Reverend Palmer Buckle's advice? We will soon be going to Maxwell Live to get those pictures of the funeral of the late J.H. Mensah. But in a rare case of unity of purpose, University Hall, aka Katanga, and Continentals, aka Unity Hall boys, are embarking on a demonstration against authorities of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, dubbed Continental Demo, over the conversion of their all-male halls into unisex halls. These halls have gained a notorious reputation of engaging in violent clashes. This time around, their interests are aligned, singing the same chorus, "We don't want females in our halls." Love News' Kwesi Debra is with resident and past student of these halls who are demonstrating now. Kwesi, what can you report from this demonstration?
We're right here at Ashtown, and a whole lot of them are here. The leadership of the group has presented the petition to 2-4, and they expected that 2-4 should take an action as early as possible. so that at least they will know the next now of action. So that's what's happening here. They've gathered here, the others from Ashtown. They try to address the group, the members of the group, to see the way forward.
Did you get?
Of course, they presented petitions to the people, and that's what we're doing now.
Right. Was there any response from the one who received it on behalf of Otumfuo?
No, that was done closed doors, and of course we're not allowed to enter. So we weren't able to get a PP to it. But that's what we had, and that it presented the petition to Otumfuo. Otumfuo has to see it, and it's going to look through it and see what the next round of action.
Were the students who presented the petition confident about? Right.
Consists mainly of the alumni.
Yes. What I'm asking is that were they confident when they came out of that meeting? Were they sure that Otumfuo would heed their calls?
Try come again, Daniel.
I was asking if they were confident after that meeting with Otumfuo's representatives that their call will be heard.
I didn't see that in their faces. The only thing they could tell me is that they expected Otumfuo will exercise the greatest of discretion and do what he has to do. That's coming from them. So I didn't see that in their faces, Daniel.
Right. Thank you very much, Kwesi Deborah, for that report. Let's move back to the forecourt of State House, where Maxwell Agbagba is standing by, reporting from the funeral of the late Joseph Henry Mensah. Maxwell, if you can hear me, why has Reverend Charles Palmer Buckle been making that statement about the mode in which funerals are organized?
Well, he was commending the family of the late J.H. Mensah. He was commending them for being able to organize his burial service just within 40 days. He says that has not been the norm in recent times. He says there are periods where family members keep their dead relatives in the morgue for a very long time. And they usually do this just to prepare for some extravagant, funerals. He's saying that that is not necessary, and it is important for families to be able to rather spend resources on the living. He said that to the applause of the mourners who gathered at the Accra International Conference Center. Well, the burial service itself has ended. The cortege carrying the mortal remains of the late former senior minister is headed to the military cemetery at Bema Camp, where the late Vice President Pakwesi Emise Atta was buried. Happening behind me right now is a sit-in where the family members who've gone for the burial will be returning for the final ceremony to continue here at the forecourt, of the State House. We had a lot of tributes eulogizing the former senior minister. Now, President Akufo-Addo himself also wrote a tribute eulogizing him. He said that he's a man who cherished modesty and he's disdainful of extravagance, spendings. He's been telling us how he used to call him as the first accused, and he says that that term of endearment came about as a result of his defense for him in the 70s. He says in the 70s, the late J.H. Mensah was arrested together with Sheikh I.C. Kwe. They were arrested for pamphleteering, basically writing about political happenings in the country. They were arrested on a charge of sedition against the military government at the time. And President Akufo-Addo said he was supposed to defend him, in court. And that was how come he started calling him first accused. And until his death, that's how he used to refer, to him. He said that we are talking about the double track system, which will be rolled out in some days. He said the former senior minister was the first to point out that the best way to utilize the infrastructure in our senior high schools is the double track, system. We've had lots of tributes coming for J.H. Mensah. Also present at the conference center, we had all our former presidents, but we had Jerry John Rawlings, we had former President Mahama, we had former President John Ejekun Kufuor, whose brother-in-law is actually the former senior minister, J.H. Mensah.
Right, thank you very much, Maxwell Agbagba, for that detailed report. We will be moving away from this issue now and take these important messages. Stay with us. There is more after this. Thanks for staying with us. Now, there are more lands in Ghana, but there are more problems in acquiring land if proper procedure is not followed. The constraints range from insecurity of land tenure, inadequate land policy, indiscipline in the market, leading to fraud, frustration, and anxiety. Mamavi Owusu-Abuaje caught up with some officials of the Lands Commission to know the various processes involved in acquiring a piece of land.
Where can I get a trouble-free land to buy in Accra? Please help me, because you're from the Lands Commission.
Well, anytime I hear trouble-free, I say trouble-free when? It might be trouble-free today, it might not be trouble-free tomorrow. So usually, to answer your question, I would say, what do you need to do to ensure that what you are buying now is covered by the right documentation?
Okay.
That's what I would define as trouble-free. So that's what we have to discuss first.
Okay.
But trouble-free today may not be trouble-free
tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
But when I say trouble-free, it also means langard-free and issues-free. Because sometimes you get a land that is duly registered in the person's name.
Yes.
And then it turns out there is an issue.
Yes.
So maybe Ruth, you can help. How does that arise?
Well, like he said, you bought it at a time that there was no trouble, and then something happened. Maybe a dispute arose between the family heads, or there was a chieftaincy problem within the stool that granted the land to you. The new head has come. He also comes with his elders. Maybe they think the first one didn't go through due process in allocating the land, so then he's requesting for everybody to come back and get their documents rectified. Or the new family head thinks that the previous one did not have the right to allocate to you. So then those problems arise. But in all of it, there can always be a way to go about it.
Okay. Tim, tell us what issues are coming up these days from where you sit.
Well, like you said, urbanization comes with its own problems. So pressure on land, I always set examples. If you go to regions where there's not so much pressure on land, if you go to my small hamlet, you will not find that problems arise. But once urbanization comes up, like in Accra, or in the big cities, Takrade, Kumasi, you find out that the new issues have to do with, and they've always been issues that have just escalated. Double grants, as you're seeing, the issues of litigation, not waiting out the court processes and deciding to take the law into your own hands. So that means this landguardism would arise, the inability of the other law enforcement agencies to ensure that they deal with the other aspects of land problems, such as the criminal aspects, such as distraction, trespass, and in some cases, just purely fraudulent persons posing as an interfamily and intrafamily, as Ruth was saying. If families decide to have disputes among them, there's a challenge then. These are issues that affect land ownership.
Okay. So how do I know? In fact, let's begin this way. Before I buy a land, do I have to cross-check at the Lands Commission to ensure that what I'm buying is duly registered to the person who is selling it to me in the first place? Is there anything like that?
Yes, there is. If you identify the land that you want to acquire, definitely it would belong to someone. You need to locate that person. So let's give ourselves a scenario. Say, I want a land in Teshi, so I find one. Definitely there will be developments within the neighborhood, right? So I can talk to some of the developers. Oh, who are the grantors or owners of land within this area? Which people give grants? Definitely they will direct you to someone. You see the person says, yes, we do grants. The person needs to give you a certain documentation as a basis for their claim that they give grants. Once they give you that documentation, there should be a site plan that will depict the land on paper. With that site plan, then you can come to the Lands Commission to do what we call a search. we'll go through our records and find out if there is any recorded transactions in respect of that parcel of land. If there is, records will reveal it. If not, we would also let you know. So if there is any information and it comes out contrary to what the person is claiming, then you might have to do further checks to see where the issue really, the differences are arising. But if you do and then it confirms the person's claim, then you're one step clear.
Those initial checks, usually people give you some drafts plan, is to indicate to you the boundaries of the site for you to use as a basis of the check. Then when you are ready to do documentation, then they rather go into specificity of getting it. But the site plan will have certain characteristics. They are basic with every site plan. There will be grid lines, there will be a definition of the exact parcel of land, the distances, the area, the locality. Those are basic things that will come with every site plan.
Okay,
yes.
The yellow card. And that has become like license to go ahead and put up a structure. Please, how important is your yellow card?
Well, we've even abandoned the yellow card. We found out that it was giving us problems. The history of the yellow card was, when you, like I discussed, the law said first in time to submit for registration. So like every other thing, when you submit, you get a certain receipt. Like you go to the hospital, you get a hospital card to show that you are coming to see. So the yellow card was just evidence that you've lodged your documents for registration. Unfortunately for us.
You're still watching Joy News. Today I am Daniel Dazi. Up next is Sandra Esena Afenu with business.